Most English learners study for years, sometimes decades, and they still sound foreign. And the crazy part? It is not their vocabulary, it is not their grammar. It is something almost nobody ever talks about. And today, we are going to fix that.
If you have ever felt like your English is technically correct, but something just feels off, like you are reading the words perfectly, but native speakers still notice you're not from here, this episode is going to completely change the way you think about language. Stay with us.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fluent English Podcast. I am Alex.
And I am Emma. And Alex, I have to say, today's topic is one that I personally get a little fired up about because I think it is one of the most overlooked things in all of language learning.
Same. And look, we are not here to shame any teachers, okay? English teachers work incredibly hard. But there is a structural reason why this particular thing never gets taught in classrooms, and we will get into that a little later. First, let's just set the scene.
So our listeners, as you guys know, are people learning English. You might be intermediate, maybe upper intermediate. You know your tenses, you know hundreds, maybe thousands of words. You can write an email in English, you can follow a conversation. But when you open your mouth, something is off, and you cannot quite put your finger on what.
Right. And you have probably been told things like practice more, or watch more American TV, or just speak with native speakers. All of that is good advice, but none of it actually tells you what to listen for or what to fix.
So let's name it. The single biggest marker that separates a native English speaker from a non-native English speaker is not a grammar rule. It is not a word. It is rhythm and stress.
Rhythm and stress.
Say it slowly. Let it sink in.
And look, I know that might sound a little vague right now, like, okay, rhythm, great, what does that even mean? So let's actually demonstrate this. Emma, can you read the sentence for me in two different ways?
Sure, go ahead.
The sentence is, I didn't say she stole the money.
Okay, first the way a non-native speaker might say it, giving every word basically the same weight. I did not say she stole the money.
Okay, now say it the way a native speaker would say it if they were emphasizing the word I.
I didn't say she stole the money, meaning someone else said it, but not me.
Now emphasize stole.
I didn't say she stole the money, meaning she borrowed it, maybe she found it, but I never used the word stole.
And now emphasize money.
I didn't say she stole the money, meaning she stole something, just not the money.
Same 7 words, 7 completely different meanings. And the only thing that changed was which word we stressed.
And here's the thing. Native speakers do this automatically, without thinking. It is baked into how we process English from childhood. We do not think, okay, I am going to stress this word. We just do it. It is instinctive.
But for someone learning English as a second language, especially if your native language handles stress and rhythm differently, which most languages do, you might not even realize this is happening. You hear the words, but your brain is not fully processing the rhythm underneath them.
And that rhythm, that is what makes you sound native or not.
All right, so let's break this down a little more formally, and then we're going to get into some really practical stuff. The concept we're talking about has a technical name. It's called prosody. And within prosody, the two things that matter most for English are word stress and sentence rhythm.
Word stress is about which syllable inside a word gets the emphasis. For example, photograph versus photography. The word changes shape depending on stress. Photograph. Photography. Same letters, different stress, completely different sound.
And sentence rhythm is about which words inside a sentence get the emphasis. In English, and this is key, we stress what linguists call content words, nouns, main verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and we swallow or reduce what we call function words, articles, prepositions, auxiliary verbs, conjunctions, pronouns.
So in the sentence, she is going to the store. A native speaker does not say every word at the same volume and speed. It sounds more like, she's going to the store. The is gets swallowed into the contraction, the to the becomes almost a single blurred sound, to the, and the stress lands on going and store.
going, and store. Those are your content words. Those carry the meaning. Everything else is just connective tissue.
And non-native speakers, through absolutely no fault of their own, tend to treat every word equally. She is going to the store. Each word gets its moment. Each word is clear and deliberate.
Which is technically accurate English, but it doesn't sound like native English. And that's the invisible wall that most learners hit and can't figure out how to get past.
Because no one told them the wall existed.
Okay, so let's make this a little more personal, because I think this is where it gets really interesting. Emma, you are learning Spanish right now, right?
I am, yes. My Spanish is, let's say, enthusiastic but imperfect.
I love that. And I am learning French, which, by the way, is humbling me in ways I did not expect.
French will do that.
It really will. But here is why this is relevant. Both Spanish and French handle stress very differently from English, and I think this gives us a great window into why English stress is so hard for speakers of those languages.
So let's start with Spanish, because I have been living this. Spanish has stress, of course, but it is much more regular and predictable. In Spanish, the stress pattern of a word is almost always consistent. You stress the second to last syllable unless there is a written accent mark telling you otherwise. It is almost like a rule you can always follow.
So Spanish stress is more fixed.
More fixed, yes. And the rhythm of a Spanish sentence is also more syllable-timed, meaning each syllable gets roughly the same amount of time. It is more like a steady drum beat. Bum, 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 bum. Even spacing.
Whereas English is stress-timed.
Exactly. English is stress-timed, which means we stretch out the stressed syllables and compress or smash together the unstressed ones to keep this underlying rhythmic beat going. It sounds more like bum, baba, bum, ba, bum. The gaps between stressed syllables tend to stay roughly equal, even if there are more or fewer syllables in between.
So, a Spanish speaker learning English brings this even, syllable-by-syllable rhythm with them, and it sounds, to a native English ear, a little robotic, a little flat, even if every word is correct.
Completely. And I notice this in my own Spanish, by the way. When I'm trying to speak Spanish, I bring my English stress habits with me, and I stress the wrong syllables, or I stress content words in ways that sound very American, even when the words are right.
Right. And French is its own fascinating case. French is actually almost the opposite of English in terms of stress. French is almost entirely syllable-timed as well, but even more so than Spanish. In some ways, French words in isolation do not have fixed stress. The stress in French tends to fall at the end of a rhythmic group, a phrase, rather than on a specific syllable within a word.
So French speakers often bring this phrase-level end-heavy rhythm into English. Instead of stressing individual content words throughout the sentence, they might stress the last word in each phrase more than anything else.
Which, again, does not match what English is doing. English wants you to stress the content words wherever they fall in the sentence, not just at the end of a phrase.
And here is what I find so fascinating about all of this. Neither of us, when we were learning French or Spanish, was ever explicitly taught this. No teacher said to me, Emma, Spanish is syllable-timed and English is stress-timed, and here is how to adjust. It was just assumed I would pick it up.
And most people do not pick it up. Not fully. They learn the words, they learn the grammar, but the rhythm stays foreign, sometimes forever.
Okay, let's talk about the science for a second, because there is genuinely fascinating research behind this, and I think knowing the why makes the how a lot easier to actually follow through on.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts. So there is a whole field of linguistics called prosody research, and researchers have been studying how the brain processes speech rhythm for decades, and some of the findings are pretty remarkable.
One of the key findings is this. When you listen to speech, your brain does not process every word equally. It pays more attention to stressed syllables. It actually uses the stressed syllables as kind of like anchor points to predict and process what is coming next.
So if you stress the wrong words or you stress everything equally, You're essentially scrambling the navigation system. The listener's brain has to work harder to process what you're saying, even if every word is technically correct.
And this is not a conscious thing for the listener. They're not sitting there thinking, this person is stressing the wrong syllables. They just feel like something is slightly off. It takes more mental effort to listen to. And in a conversation, people default to the easier path.
Which is not making as much effort to understand you. And that can lead to people finishing your sentences for you, or nodding along without really following, or asking you repeat yourself more than they would with a native speaker.
And none of that is about how smart you are or how much English you know. It is purely about rhythm.
There's also research, and this is really interesting, on something called the motor theory of speech perception. The basic idea is that when we hear speech, our brains are not just passively receiving sounds, we are actually using our own speech production systems to simulate and predict the sounds. We hear speech through our mouths as much as our ears.
Oh, I love that.
Right? And what this means for language learning is that if you have not physically practiced making the stress patterns of English, your brain literally has more trouble perceiving them when you hear them. The production and perception are linked.
So, listening more is not enough by itself. You have to physically practice producing the rhythm. That is why shadowing works. That is why recording yourself works. And that is exactly what we are going to get into right now.
Practical drill time. And look, we are going to give you something you can do today. Not next week, not when you have a language partner. Today, by yourself in 5 minutes.
Okay, so here's the drill. We call it the 20 shadow method. You pick one sentence, just one, and you're going to shadow it 20 times.
Shadow, for anyone who doesn't know, means you listen to a native speaker say the sentence and then you immediately repeat it, trying to match not just the words, but the rhythm, the speed, the melody, the exact sound as closely as you possibly can.
So pick your sentence. You can use the one we used earlier. I didn't say she stole the money, or pick any sentence from a podcast, a YouTube video, a movie, somewhere you can hear a clear native speaker saying it.
Step 1, listen to the sentence once, carefully. Do not repeat it yet, just listen.
Step 2, listen again, and this time tap your finger or your foot on the stressed words. Find the beat. Which words is the speaker hitting harder? Which ones are they rushing through?
Step 3, repeat the sentence out loud. Immediately after hearing it. Do not wait. Shadow it as fast as you can, chasing the speaker's voice. Don't worry about being perfect on the first try.
Step 4, repeat this 19 more times. Yes, 20 total. And here's the key. Each time, get a little closer to the rhythm, a little faster on the unstressed words, a little stronger on the stressed ones.
And step 5, this one is crucial. Record yourself. On the 10th try, and on the 20th try. Just use your phone, and then play them back to back and compare them to the original.
What you will notice, almost without exception, is that your 20th try sounds significantly closer to the native version than your first try. And more than that, your 10th try will already sound better than most of your day-to-day conversational English.
Because you have been drilling the rhythm in a concentrated, focused way.
And when you record yourself, you're going to hear things you did not notice while you were speaking. You might notice that you were adding a little extra stress to the or a. You might notice that you were spacing out your words too evenly. You will hear it, and hearing it is the first step to fixing it.
Do this with 10 sentences over the next 2 weeks. 10 sentences, 20 shadows each. That's it. And see if native speakers start responding to you differently. See if conversations feel a little easier. See if you feel more confident.
Because confidence in speaking comes largely from not having to think about the mechanics. And when the rhythm becomes automatic, you free up mental space for vocabulary, for ideas, for humor, for actually connecting with the person you are talking to.
Which is what language is for in the first place. All right, let's talk about the classroom thing, because I promised we would come back to it. Why is this not taught? If it is this important, if it is the single biggest marker of a non-native accent, why do language teachers not drill this explicitly?
And the honest answer is because it is hard to teach in a traditional classroom format.
Grammar is easy to teach. You write a rule on the board, you make a chart, present tense, add S for third person. Done. You can test it, you can correct it on paper, there's a right and a wrong.
Rhythm is not like that. Rhythm is felt. It lives in the body. You cannot correct someone's stress patterns with a red pen on a worksheet. You have to hear it, model it, practice it out loud, get feedback in real time. And in a class of 30 students, that is almost impossible to do for everyone.
So it is not that teachers are holding anything back. It is that the traditional teaching format, writing, grammar charts, multiple choice, is just structurally bad at transmitting rhythm. It is the wrong tool for the job.
Which is part of why podcasts like this one matter, because you can listen to natural, flowing English. You can shadow us. You can hear the rhythm of two native speakers actually having a conversation, not reading a textbook dialogue.
Not, hello, I would like to buy some apples. How much do they cost?
The classic. Nobody talks like that. Nobody has ever talked like that.
But also, there are resources now that did not exist even 10 years ago. You can look up any sentence on YouTube and find a native speaker saying it. You can use speech recognition tools to see if your stress patterns are being understood. You can record yourself and compare. The tools are all there. The missing piece was knowing what to look for.
And now you know.
Okay, let's do a quick recap before we land this thing because I want to make sure everyone is walking away with a clear picture.
Yes, let's do it.
The mistake. Non-native speakers treat every word in a sentence equally. Every word gets roughly the same weight and speed. This is the single most common thing that makes English sound foreign, and almost no classroom ever corrects it.
The cause, most languages are syllable-timed, meaning every syllable gets about the same duration. English is stress-timed, meaning stressed syllables stay roughly equal in time and unstressed syllables get compressed and swallowed to keep that beat going.
The science. Your brain uses stress syllables as anchor points to process speech. When the stress is wrong, the listener's brain works harder. This causes the subtle feeling of effort or foreignness, even when every word is technically correct.
The fix? Stop stressing function words, articles, prepositions, auxiliary verbs, pronouns. Start really leaning into your content words, nouns, main verbs, adjectives, adverbs. Those are your beat. Everything else fills in around them.
And the drill. Pick one sentence from natural speech. Shadow it 20 times. Record yourself at attempt 10 and attempt 20. Compare it to the original. Do this with 10 sentences over 2 weeks and watch what happens.
And if you want to take it further, record yourself in a regular conversation. Listen back with this new awareness. You will hear the function words you are stressing, and you will know exactly what to work on.
One more thing I want to add, because I think it is genuinely important. This is not about erasing your accent. Your accent is yours. It is part of who you are. This is about clarity. It is about making it easier for people to understand you without extra effort. It is about removing a barrier that has nothing to do with your intelligence or your knowledge of English.
You could know every word in the dictionary and still sound foreign. Fix your rhythm first, and everything else gets easier.
That is the whole episode right there.
We should have led with that.
No, it hits harder at the end.
Fair point.
All right, before we go, if you want to practice what we talked about today, shadow us. Take any 60-second clip from this episode, listen to it, find the stressed words, then shadow it 20 times. We are actually native speakers having a real conversation, which makes this episode itself a practice resource.
Use us. That is what we are here for.
And if you found today's episode useful, share it with one person who is learning English. Just one. Because this is exactly the kind of thing that is hard to find and easy to share. And it could genuinely change how someone experiences the language.
We will see you in the next episode. And until then, stress the right words, swallow the rest, and keep going.
Keep going.